The Hoosiers deserved to be in this playoff, and all of these pundits out there we're going to talk about today. Herbstreit, Finebaum, McDonough, Cowherd. I'm coming after all of you because Indiana deserved to be in this. Let's get into it.
Pretty simple. I win.
For three on the way.
Hello, guys, and welcome to Indiana Sports Connection. I am your residential anchor, Aaron. Thank you so much for being here and being part of this Indiana Hoosiers community. Yes, I still have the Indiana football shirt on because after watching what happened the rest of the day, Saturday and Sunday, and nobody's really come forward of these losers, these straight up paid for losers on ESPN are just corrupting college football. And we're going to talk about all that on this episode. What they said, why they're so wrong, and why Indiana. And look, this is just I will tell you at the end of this why they really have nothing to complain about, why this is so childish. And we'll talk about all that on this episode. But if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button down below. This is Indiana Sports Connection. Thanks for being here. And we have some giveaways on the channel. So today we are giving away a shirt. So the winner of the Rally House giveaway is She Rocket 4791. She Rocket 4791. You won yourself a shirt from Home Field Apparel. The channel is brought to you by BetUS. Use my promo code Indiana125 to save 125% on your first 3 deposits and all of the AdSense revenue for the next couple days. Happy holidays to everybody out there. Goes to t2t.org. And yeah, I want to be in the holiday spirit, but I am very, very angry about what happened in the aftermath of what they said in these games and how one-sided it really was. And it just, I'll tell you, it's just really pissing me off. So hit that thumbs up button. Let's get this video out and blast this all over YouTube and share the video because look, Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, you got nothing to complain about. You got nobody to blame but yourself. Go home, look in the mirror and say, we lost to Oklahoma. We got the crap beat out of us by Oklahoma. That's what you should do, Alabama fans. Stop crying because I don't care. I don't care. So without further ado, let's get into talking about the Indiana Hoosiers. All right. So my voice is still bad. I just got a cold. So happy holidays to everybody. Merry Christmas. And I hope the Christmas season finds you in great spirits. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to talk about all these comments. And let's start with who I normally like. Kurt Herbstreit, who is just a paid-for clown. Just a paid-for clown. The ESPN owns the SEC network. We know that. And we also know what a bunch of liars the ESPN really are. I mean, they will just say whatever they can. They are hemorrhaging money constantly and having to fire people because people like my show that actually gives genuine real takes and I'm not being paid by somebody to say something like a puppet, like somebody's got their hand up the back of my shirt telling me what to say. You're not going to find that on Indiana Sports Connection. That's one of the reasons why I started this channel, because I hate ESPN. The news that ESPN delves out about college football is about the same type of news that MSNBC pumps out about Joe Biden's health. That's about how reliable it is. We see how that's turned out, right? I mean, Herbstreit, here you go. Hillbilly Monkey. Roll that clip.
That I hope next year the committee won't get caught up in what the social media and a lot of people who are fringe fans get caught up in, which is wins. They had 11 wins. They must be good. Who did they beat? I think is much more important than how many wins you have. That's old school way of approaching it. Indiana having 11 wins and beating nobody, that doesn't mean they're one of the 12 best teams. Remember, I know, Linda, I'm not taking this out on you, but there's a big difference between deserving and best.
Yeah.
What this is all about is giving us the best 12 teams. Now, it's subjective. How you want to figure out the best 12 is up to you. But that's what I want to see. I don't want to hear about wins. How many wins? Winning's obviously important, but just because you have 11 wins doesn't mean you're better than a team that maybe had a tougher road that had 9 wins. So I think we get too caught up in how many wins you have. It's really more about who are the best 12 teams, and we need to get the best 12 teams in this tournament every year.
It's a fantastic point, Kirk. Thanks for making it.
So there he is. This loser goes on SportsCenter and makes, I think this was like a written statement they gave him to make. And what else makes me lose respect for this guy? He was on with Dan Dockich last week talking about Indiana and just talking up Indiana when he was talking to Dan Dockich about it. That Indiana really gave Ohio State quite a game because like they just dropped the punt and whatever. So then all of a sudden his entire brain has to I just don't know. You just can't trust these guys. You just can't trust this guy. You just can't trust him. And then he's still bitching about it the next morning. This freaking loser is still bitching about this like a little baby. He went to Ohio State. Why does he work for these losers? He didn't need that money that bad. Hillbilly Monkey, roll the clip of this loser still talking about this.
You know, and I'm not going to sit here and say why was Indiana in, but Indiana, with what you guys like to talk about, they have 11 wins. They got to be one of the best teams. Indiana was outclassed in that game. They should not physically, it was not a team that should have been on that field when you consider other teams that could have been there. It's no knock on Indiana. They had a great year, but we've got to move forward with the playoff and hope that the committee does a better job of weighing who the best 12 are versus who's the most deserving, because by golly, they got 11 wins. They didn't beat anybody, but they got 11 wins. That's a bunch of BS. We need to find the best teams, and that's last night. It was incredibly evident just standing on that field and watching the game and the way it played out.
Yeah, then who's it going to be, Kurt Herbstreit? Who's it going to be, right? Alabama? The same Alabama that what? Okay, let's talk about the teams. Let's talk about the teams, why they didn't get in, okay? And it's pretty well documented. An Alabama team that lost 3 games, including a blowout at 6-loss Oklahoma, which I watched that entire game. Alabama wasn't even close. Alabama didn't even score in that game in the second half. They had a loss at 6-loss Vanderbilt. Alabama did. So you want to put a Alabama team that lost to a bad Oklahoma team, to a bad Vanderbilt team, these teams that had a bunch of losses, over a 1-win Big Ten team. I mean, Indiana's going to get in over Ole Miss. Ole Miss, they got a lot to bitch about. They got beat at home by Kentucky. Okay, Ole Miss got beat at home by Kentucky. And Lane Kiffin, don't even let me start on you. You're bitching about this stuff. You were born on second base, you fucking loser. I mean, you want to sit here and bitch about your team? You lost at home to Kentucky, a basketball school. Oh, but somehow that doesn't matter. Here's what I think. SEC pundits, this is what I think the SEC thinks this is how they should choose the teams. Everybody just has a big combine at the beginning of the year to bring everybody out to Lucas Oil Stadium. Everybody runs 40-yard dashes. Then we'll equate all the metrics. We'll show, okay, these are the NFL players on these teams, and we'll just do it that way. We won't play any games at all. I think that's what they want. They want to say, oh, we got so many NFL players on our team, so we must be in. Oh my God, get off of it. As being an Indiana Hoosiers football fan and not really being that entrenched in college football, now I realize something very, very that I never knew before. These teams, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Notre Dame, all of these elite football teams are like a bunch of grandiose, grandstanding babies. And they just cannot stand it. They can't stand if somebody else gets invited into the party, especially Indiana. That's why they're picking on Indiana, because they're the all-time losingest program in college football. So they really want to jump on this because they want to nip this in the bud that teams like this never, ever get in. Let's move on to Colin Cowherd, because I hate this dude too. He is on the radio from 12 to 3 just spitting lies like this one right here all the time. This guy's a complete clown, Hillbilly Monkey. Roll it.
Really good roster, desperate for a quarterback, and they're not paying any of their top 5 or 6 offensive players anything. He fits. New York, Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to be overwhelmed by it.
Oh, yeah, Aaron Rodgers. He is a sure thing, isn't he? Oh, my God. So here's what Colin Cowherd said in a tweet that he put out on Friday. And just what a freaking clown show this guy is. This entire playoff, and I'm going to talk like him. He talks like Daffy Duck, where he slobbers the entire time he talks. This entire playoff is experimental. Things will change. Potential reseeding after round one. It may expand to 14 games. Change is inevitable. But there's the one thing that makes sense in a non-negotiable rule. Indiana can never be invited in again. I know that was an awful Cowherd impression. My voice is shot. But just, you lost a lot of fans there. I'm going to tell you, I already don't listen to this guy. I used to listen to him way back, but he is just a complete clown show. He is a coastal elitist who hates, I've just listened to this guy for years. He hates people from the Midwest. He just has like a distaste. It's like, oh, Colin Cowherd, he said, oh, the rural people that got to go to the big city. Actually, Colin, it's the exact opposite. Why don't you come out to the country and I'll whoop your ass 5 ways to Sunday or whatever, how that saying goes. Because that's how it is. I lived in the big city and I've lived in the country. City people are full of shit. They act tough. They act like they're tough and they don't know shit about what real toughness really is. That's just the bottom line. You want to be digging out in the dirt out in the country doing hardcore shit? That's what makes you tough, okay? Colin, okay? Sorry, that is a rant that's like off the thing. But this guy, he says a lot of stupid shit constantly. Colin Cowherd, so don't take it seriously. And look at this clip. This is how ESPN, this is how they described the games. And it's just really... It's just completely unfair to Indiana Hoosiers fans, you know, and unfair to the entire process of playing these games. And it's like, what's the point? I mean, what a bunch of big babies. They don't want Indiana in it. We got them scared. I'm going to tell you my take at the end of this. Roll the clip.
Notre Dame dominates Indiana. They win by 10. Okay? Interesting. Defense leads Penn State past SMU 38-10. 28-point difference, not dominates. Texas holds off Clemson 38-24. 14 points. Like, what the fuck?
Right. Dominates. Indiana was dominated. They didn't use that for any other team, right? But then we're going to move on to Paul Finebaum, who is the biggest homer out of all these guys. And just, I mean, he was ripping on Indiana not being in. And, here's what he had to say about, why Tennessee? Tennessee still had a good one. So, Tennessee should have been in. But he never really explains why he thinks the other SEC teams should be in. But Hillbilly Monkey, roll that clip of Finebaum.
It just bothered me to hear Kirk Cignetti run his mouth talking like he's actually done something. What he's done is he's beaten Purdue 66-0 and beaten a bunch of middling teams, but he hasn't beaten a good team. And in the 2 games that he had against quality opposition, he got his head taken off. SMU is a little different. I mean, we just like that story. Not to rehash 3 weeks ago.
This guy is an absolute joke as well. It's like he can't admit it. Like, I'll tell you, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Alabama, go look at the games they lost. Go look at the games they played. They didn't deserve to be in. And here's my take on all of this. No matter what, if Iowa goes 11-1 next year, they're getting in. If Michigan State goes 11-1 next year, they're getting in. If Arkansas in the SEC goes 11-1 next year, and you don't want Arkansas in because they're not one of your teams that you're like, we're the powerhouse football teams, and only 8 of these teams, then they're going to get in. And look, there's another part of all of this. We've watched Notre Dame play in the playoff. I have, and rooted for them. They got annihilated. We've watched TCU play in the playoff, and they got annihilated. We've watched Ohio State get annihilated by it. I mean, we've watched a lot of teams in this format even with the 4-team playoff, get completely annihilated. And then we saw a bunch of teams play on the road in college football. I do have a theory, like when it was the old college football playoff, and even this one, you have such a layover in between games. Football, I do believe, is a game that needs to be played week in and week out for your offense to be really good. I think it really does you a disservice to have weeks off in between games. I think that always plays into it. I think it always has when they play this college football playoff, because the season ends around Thanksgiving, and like Indiana had 2-week lead up to this game. I don't know. I just do know, like from watching the Colts years past, where they got a bye in the playoffs and they had a great offense. They went up against a good defense in the playoffs after having some weeks off and didn't look as sharp as they did in games prior. That's a real thing that happens in sports. Tennessee was absolutely demolished by Ohio State. I watched that game. They were not even in it from the very beginning. Indiana played at Ohio State with a raucous crowd and took the ball right down the field and scored on them. And the score was going to be like 7-7 at halftime before that missed punt. So all these people that really want to rip Indiana looked better against Ohio State than Tennessee. Where are you on that? Where are you? These people have suddenly have no voice. Their Twitter accounts do not exist. Crickets fall over all of them because what they projected to happen, they thought Tennessee would have a tough game there. Well, it wasn't. Ohio State is the best team in the country, in my opinion. Indiana got beat by them. Yes, they did. You know what? Michigan also beat Ohio State, and Indiana beat Michigan. So take that for what it's worth. It's worth something. Indiana football is like the Rodney Dangerfield of football. We're getting no respect. And you better bet your ass that we are going to be back. We're going to be back. And we're going to be shoving this shit right down your throat and in your face from now on. And Curt Cignetti, he's here to stay. And I believe Indiana football has a great future. It's just so aggravating to watch this stuff. Tell me what you thought about it in the comments down below. Tell me what you thought about all of this, because it was really radical. Hillbilly Monkey, what did you think?
From the sands of the Wabash River and formed into a monkey lamp that's sold at Home Goods. It's the Hillbilly Monkey Perspective on Indiana Sports Connection.
I mean, you're spot on with all this shit. I mean, these guys, they go on TV and they're just bought and paid for spokesmen for the SEC. And that's 100% correct. People should know, yeah, these people, they're delving out more shitty information than MSNBC does. I guarantee you, these guys, they don't know crap about anything because they ain't giving a genuine opinion. That's why you watch the Indiana Sports Connection, because we give you it to you straight, and we don't have people paying us to say shit that we don't actually believe. Nobody's going to sit here and pay me to say something that I don't believe. It's like, you know, I'm a big Indiana fan, and that goes a long ways. You know, obviously I'm going to be on Indiana's side, but what these people go on ESPN and spew out this complete garbage, it's all bullshit, you know, and we're going to talk about Indiana's basketball team here soon. I know I did not make a video about the Chattanooga game, but Indiana basketball looks terrible, and we're going to be talking about that soon, because some of the things Mike Woods has been saying. Leave your comments down below. Indiana's getting no respect. Thank you so much for being here. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to all of you out there. Christmas Eve tomorrow. I'm heading over to South Bend this afternoon, so enjoy your holiday. And until next time, stay classy out there, Hoosier fans.